Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Service Dog channel. Heads up, I'm not a lawyer. Very quickly, here are the topics I'll cover in this video. Why the Air Carrier Access Act has changed, what has changed, which animals are considered service animals, documents airlines can and cannot require, copies of these documents with instructions, when an airline can refuse a service dog access, how an airline determines if it's a real service dog, the Department of Transportation's tips for traveling with a service animal, traveling outside of the United States with a service dog, and what to do if you have a problem. On September 20th, 2024, the Air Carrier Act was updated. They changed the service animal transportation form and added instructions and supplied some frequently asked questions. The Air Carrier Access Act, ACAA, defines a service dog the same way that the ADA does. It's a dog that's individually trained to perform work to help a person with disabilities. It also specifies that only dogs can be service animals. The ACAA specifies that airlines are only required to recognize dogs as service animals, but they have the freedom to choose to allow other species to be transported as well. Airlines can require documentation for service dogs, but they don't have to require it if they so choose. As far as I know, all of them do. If you find one that doesn't, leave it in the comments section below. Anyhow, the documents they can require are the form attesting to the health, behavior, and training of a service dog, and the form attesting to the fact that the dog is capable of not having to relieve itself on board for the duration of the flight. Airlines are not allowed to ask for other documentation unless it's required for the animal to travel outside of the United States or by another federal agency. Here is the service animal transportation form, which has changed. The first part requires basic information about the handler and the dog. You also have to attest to the fact that the dog is free of ticks and fleas and that it has its vaccinations. You must also supply the name and phone number of the veterinarian, but the vet's signature is not required. The next section requires you to vouch for the training of the dog to mitigate a disability and the dog's behavior. The next section ensures you understand that the dog must be harnessed, leashed, or tethered at all times in the airport and on the aircraft. This is different than the ADA, which says that if these tools interfere with the dog's ability to perform its work, then it's not required. The next 7 screenshots will go by quickly. They are instructions for how to fill out the form. You can pause the video to read them. The second form that the airlines can require is the relief attestation form. They want your flight info as well as the estimated length of your flight. You're given the option to diaper your dog or describe another way that you'll prevent your dog from creating a sanitation issue. There are situations where the airline can deny access to a service dog. If it's too large or heavy to fit in the foot space of your seat, or if it violates some other safety requirement. If the dog is a threat to other people, if the dog causes a huge commotion in the airport or cabin, and if it violates health requirements for anywhere outside of the United States. Lastly, if the airline chooses to require the 2 Department of Transportation forms and the handler doesn't provide them, they can refuse to allow the dog to board the plane. Now, this section is of significant interest because it's a question many people ask of the ADA. How do airlines determine whether an animal is a service animal? They can ask the 2 ADA questions: is this a service animal required for a disability, and what work has it been trained to perform? They can look for harnesses or vests indicating the dog is a service animal, even though the dog is not required to wear one. I think this is just a shortcut to bypass the 2 screening questions. They can check to see that the dog is harnessed, leashed, or tethered, and one of the most telltale signs is watching the animal's behavior. Specifically, the ACAA indicates that a service animal that has been trained to behave in public does not act aggressively by biting, barking, jumping, lunging, or injuring people or animals. Furthermore, a service animal that has been trained to behave in public does not urinate or defecate on the aircraft or in the gate area of the airport. The Department of Transportation provides tips for traveling with a service animal, and they include, when you're at the airport, ask an airport or airline professional for the location of the nearest service animal relief areas when you need one. On the aircraft, your service animal must be permitted to accompany you in the space under the seat in front of you. Small service animals can sit on your lap. Your dog cannot block a space that must be open for safety reasons, like the aisle or emergency exits. An airline can't make you pay for an upgrade to a different class of service to accommodate your service animal. They can't refuse to let your dog on board because it makes other people uncomfortable, and your dog must behave. If you're traveling outside of the United States, other countries have different requirements for service dogs. Not all countries allow service animals from other countries. Make sure you check the requirements of the country to which you're traveling. If you have any problems or feel like your rights have been violated, ask to speak to a complaints resolution official, CRO. A CRO is the airline's expert on disability accommodation issues. Airlines are required to make one available to you either in person or by telephone. There's a link to file a complaint on the Department of Transportation's website. Here is their address, and here is their website. Make sure you stay up to date with the latest Service Dog news by subscribing to the Service Dog channel today.